Hello, dear friends. Welcome. We are going to discuss something very interesting today. We will talk about a revolutionary method for energy healing and transformation. And yeah, I'm very excited about this. So before I talk about the method, which is called Gsr, first, I want to explain a little bit how things work in general. So what I mean is, what could be the reason, for example, for certain problem, whatever this problem might be. It could be negative emotion, it could be difficult relationship, money issues, anything you can think of as a human experience and something which is bothering us. We will explore first what are the main mechanisms. So you will understand basically how things are related. So the first thing is about the different levels on which the energy affects us. So those three levels are, let's start with the first one, the most superficial one. This is the level of reaction. Okay, the level of reaction is when something in the external world happens, there is a trigger, and the response is directly related to this without anything else, without any other influences. For example, let's think of a concrete example. For example, something which is very hot, like a hot water. You put yourself on your hand under the water and it's very, very hot. So you pull your hand back. That's a reaction. Like there is the hot water, it's a real trigger and your response is adequate. So you just pull your hand. Okay, that's the level of reaction. And this is about anything. Basically anything that we can experience, there is the level of reaction, which is the first and also adequate response to this. The next level is a level of information. It's a deeper level. And on the level of information, for example, I may think, oh, you know what, this water, it might be hot or it might be very cold. Would this be okay or not? Like I'm thinking about this, or I may have some actual information that, for example, oh, if I burn my skin with hot water, for example, I will have problems for 1 week. Just an example. So on the level of information, we have some thoughts. Okay, so this is deeper level. Reaction, then information. And actually all of the coaching techniques, even psychological techniques, they explore those two levels, the level of information and the level of reaction. In the level of reaction, by the way, we also find those emotional responses as well, not the deeper feelings, but just like more superficial emotional responses. So level of information is deeper and it affects also the level of reaction. Because, for example, if I see the water and I have the information, oh, this can be very hot, don't go there. I may not, put my hand there, or I may use something, I don't know, or I may change the degree of the water. So the level of information can change our reactions. This is what, for example, NLP uses, or psychology techniques, or coaching techniques. We work on the level of information with the idea that it will change our reactions, our emotions, and our behavior. So what we do in the external world. And I'm not saying that this doesn't work. It does. It really does. By working with your mindset, with your thoughts, with your mental focus, yes, you can achieve some kind of results or even success, and you can change some things in your behavior and your real life as well. But there is something deeper than that. And this is a level on which regular techniques can't go. This is the level of, we can call this feelings or inner states. So that's even deeper than the level of information. On the level of inner states and feelings, something may happen, and something is actually always happening, and we don't necessarily have logical explanations for that, because this level is built up in a more complicated way. So I will repeat again, the most superficial level of reaction, direct response. Deeper than that, level of information. Level of information impacts the level of reaction. But what's even deeper than that is the level of feelings and inner states. And that affects both the level of information and also the level of our reaction. So what is happening with this deeper level, the inner states and the feelings? So this level, as I said, is built up in a more complicated way, and it's directly affected by our family system. So it's an energy level. It's not rational, or at least not necessarily. We don't necessarily understand it. We are not consciously aware of that, but it does affect everything else. So on the level, let's go back to this a little ridiculous example with the hot water. Let me see what would be the level of okay, yeah, I got one. An example. For example, I go to the hot water. I burn my hand, and then I have the feeling, well, this must be my partner's fault, for example. He must have left this hot water. He didn't consider that I might get burned. He doesn't care about me. That's a level of inner state. It's not rational. I don't know in reality, is it somehow related to my partner? Did he do something on purpose? Did he even touch the water? But something within me gets triggered. And it tells me that, for example, because of this, this must mean that my partner doesn't care about me. This is really a ridiculous example, but actually it's a good one, because very often we are that irrational in our feelings. So something in reality happens, and then internally it triggers something within us. And we always feel like, that must be the truth. Internally, this sounds like truth, like, why didn't he consider I might get burned or the kids might get burned? He's, so careless. He doesn't care about me. Within me, this really makes sense. Like, everybody must see things this way. We are all built up in this way. On the level of feelings and inner states, everything sounds like truth. Even when we make such not very, at least not proven theories, did the partner touch the water? Was he even here? What did he think? What was his intention? We don't know about this. So that's how basically everything works. And what defines this level of the deepest? It's the deepest level for now. So there are even deeper levels, but we are not talking about them because they are even beyond this. So for now, this is our deepest level, the feelings and inner states. And as I said, on this level, we are all affected and triggered by the family system. What does it mean, family system? We talk about our ancestors, many, many generations before us. So not only our parents and grandparents or people we know about, people we have seen, people we have heard about, not just those people, but the many others that have lived before us, and they have still been part of our family system. Even if we don't know our parents, if we have been abandoned, if we have been adopted, this does not change our connection with the family field. So what happens in the family system is that every experience of every member of the family is somehow recorded, and it has an impact on the future generations. So we are receiving this flow of energy from both sides, mother, father side, and all of the relatives that come from both of those sides. And we are receiving both the resources and the problems. With the resources, it's great. Usually, even though, it's also a delicate question, actually. I was going to say we don't have problems, but seriously, this is not necessarily true, because sometimes we also have problems with the resources, but that's a deeper question. For now, what's important is that we receive both the resources and also the potential problems. Why is this happening? Survival. So every experience is a learning experience. So it's important for the future generations. But this experience can really affect us in ways that we cannot even imagine. So let me give you an example. This is a very popular one. Let's say 2-3 generations before you, or some kind of grandfather is going to a war. And he is very brave. He is, let's say, very smart, independent, initiative, great qualities for a warrior. But he gets hurt or he dies. It doesn't matter. In both cases, it will have consequences. So what happens is that this initial resource of braveness, independence, initiative, it's kind of twisted. There is a distortion there. And the flow, the way this energy comes for the future generations and to you, it will be like a blockage to this resource of braveness. And for example, in a much simpler situation in your current life, let's say you are supposed to make a presentation in front of 10 people, your coworkers, something like that. So, okay, you need to step up. Yes, you need to show up some kind of braveness. For example, you have some new ideas. You're not risking your life. You're not in danger. You cannot get physically hurt. And yet, within you, something terrible is happening. You feel like you're blocked. You feel like you forget your thoughts. You may start sweating. You may want to escape. You may want to run away. What's happening is like this situation is much smaller, simple, or even if it's not that simple, it's a presentation. It's not a war, but it requires your resource of braveness. But your resource of braveness is not fully available to you in a pure way. So that's happening with us all the time with everything you can think of. Yes, sometimes we have access to pure resources. Plus, we have like many family members, ancestors. There are many flows that come to us. Yes. And in some cases, we really can use this and we are supported by the family system. But in other cases, it's the opposite. We have problems which initially are not really ours. And this doesn't mean that we are victims to the family system. Absolutely not. Like, again, that's another story. But there are no victims. But the question is, the important thing here is that we cannot recognize this. For us, it sounds like, I just can't do it. It's just too hard. Because for your inner world, it may really feel like you are going to a war or you are risking your life. On the level of information, that's totally not true. You may not have such thoughts, or if they come, you may say, well, what's wrong with me? Why do I feel like, I'm exposing my life here? On the level of reaction also, you feel like you are in your comfortable office, the air conditioner, your colleagues, even if they're not so warm and welcoming, they don't have weapons. So on the level of reaction and information, that doesn't make any sense. For your inner world, that totally makes sense. And it will affect everything else, and you will act according to that. There are so many examples that we can mention. Basically, every human experience can be an example. But let me think of something. For example, a woman that wants to get pregnant. This is a very typical one, but she can't conceive. Okay, so for, let's say, 2-3 years, no success. And there's no explanation. The doctor says everything should be fine. She consciously wants this, like her body is fine, and yet it does not happen. Very often in the family system, there is a flow, there is some kind of problem related to that. For example, women dying during labor, women that have been raped, women that, for example, lost their husband, so they needed to take care alone of the kids. And now the message is like, that's really difficult, don't go there. So something like that. So she wants this, but internally, Her state doesn't allow her to go there. So literally about everything you can think of as an emotional state, I mean like this deeper feeling state, illnesses, mental problems, goals, disappointments, like everything which can trigger an inner feeling within you. It's not just your pure reaction, but it's related to all of the experiences of your ancestors. So that's a really important point. Okay, so what do we do with this? As I said, like normal, regular psychology coaching techniques, they work on the level of information. So yes, this can help with some things, but it's not that deep. It's not as working on the level of the inner state and the feelings. And what we can do here is the Gsr technique. That's where we use this technique on the level of deep feelings and inner states. So whatever you want to work with or whatever you want in your life, if you think about it, it belongs to one of two categories. It's either a problem you want to resolve or a goal you want to achieve. Just think about it. You want a child, or you want to, for example, heal your anxiety, or you want to earn more money. It's either solving a problem or achieving a goal. And that's where we use the Gsr technique. So our goal is not to try, to heal everything at the same time, or even if it's not at the same time, but it's not the purpose. We always start from the level of our connection with reality. So what do we want? What's the problem we want to solve, or the goal we want to achieve? And from there, I will introduce you to some of the terms that we use so you are aware. So how it works. The session begins, you are expressing what do you want? What's your problem or what's your goal? Within the conversation, my job is to help you dive as deep as possible to this level of inner state and feeling. Then, give me a second, I forgot my papers, I needed them. Okay, then what I do, it's called, the process is called twisting a symptom. And then when I get you to this needed level, it's called taking a symptom. So what I need are just any type of paper. It could be colored or white. You just don't want anything printed on them or written. So I'm taking the symptom. There's a technique to do that. And the symptom is a combination or a conglomerate of different family distortions which are related to your problem. So whatever this is, the process is the same. Whatever your goal is or problem is, we twist it with a conversation. I'm taking your symptom, and this symptom includes family scenarios which are relevant to your problem, which are affecting this situation. Okay, then there is a very concrete protocol which we follow, which I follow. You don't do anything. And we unpack all of the scenarios which are related to this situation that you want to improve. I will not go into too much details right now about the protocol, but I want to mention a few things. So when we unpack those scenarios, we find first two figures, figure from symptom, figure from you. And those are figures that have some kind of interaction, whatever it might be. It's a problematic interaction. Imagine all the possible human connections or relationships. Those two figures belong to your family system. So somewhere in the family, there has been people that have interacted in this way. And now in your life, you are also replaying this. So usually you play the role of figure from I, and then there is another person who plays the role of figure from symptom. And again, it's a problematic connection. So you can recognize, sometimes those could be more subconscious, that's also true, but very often when I read those and I interpret them for you, you can recognize them, that you are playing this with someone in your life. And then what we do is we find the source. The source is also an actual figure from your family. I can't tell you when this figure lived. Sometimes I can feel, for example, if this has been a woman or a child or a man figure, even though it's not necessarily. But this figure, what's important is that this figure has actually been through some kind of problematic event, which is the initial trigger. So if we go back to those levels, reaction, information, feelings, for the figure of the resource, this has been a reaction. Okay, so something really happens in the external world. The grandfather goes to a war. There are actual weapons. There is actual life danger. He gets really hurt. So his response to, for example, become scared or hold back or, you know, be afraid to express this braveness, this has been a reaction for him. And this is where basically the energy problem begins. And from there, it causes the problems of the other two figures. So what we do during the session is we find those figures, we find the resource, and we are just bringing the energy back. We are fixing this in the source. I should tell you here that we are not changing anything for your ancestors, for the dead ones, for the alive ones. This doesn't affect them. This only affects your own energy flow and the flow you will give to your children. That will be fixed. So you will not, you know, continue this flow of, for example, fear from expressing braveness and blocking yourself. It will be fixed for you and for the future generations. So it's an energy work. For some people, this may sound, what's that? Like, that's crazy. If you're not open to this, that's also totally fine. I can tell you that from all of the techniques I have tried, and I have tried many things, many things. This is the deepest and most intense one, and the one which brings the best results. So we bring the energy back to the resource, and it changes the whole field. And then we repeat for as much as we need until there are no scenarios in your symptom. In Gsr terms, we say until the symptom is 0. So there are no feelings found in the symptom. And what happens for you is that, first of all, your inner state changes. Second of all, things in reality change, because you will not need to play those scenarios anymore in your life. So it's really, really amazing. Very, very often, the shift is rapid, like right away. For example, you have felt confused before the session. I don't know about what. For example, you don't know something. You need to make a choice. You feel confused. At the end of the session, you feel like you have choices, you have clarity. It doesn't sound in the same way for you, because we have cleared all of those energy blockages, and also the initially available resource to you, you have access to it now. So it's not anything artificial. It's not any manipulation. I'm not making anything to your system, or like, what we do with this work is we just allow the initially available resource to flow to you in a pure way. That's it. And trust me, it's truly amazing. It really is. So what kind of issues can we work with? I can definitely tell you that anything you can think of. Now, full disclosure, in some cases, of course, things may not happen with one session. So if we talk about something very, very deep, something that, for example, have lasted for 20 years or since you remember yourself, this may require more time and work and a few sessions. That's also reality. But with every session, there should be something is changing. More sensitive people are feeling the process during the session. For example, when my specialist is making sessions for me, very often I can cry, or I get like, confused, or whatever. Something happens with me during the session. At the end of the session, it's totally different. Some people are not that sensitive. They don't feel it. That's also fine. It doesn't change the influence. It doesn't change the benefits of the session. And we can really work with anything you can think of. A few types of sessions are also highly recommended. One is, it's like a specific type of session. We have a protocol for this one. It's called personal money flow. It's a really good one because basically we work on blockages which affect your own money flow. So interesting that I had a session with a specialist for myself about this, and you can't imagine what kind of strange scenarios. There were things related to wars, like sometimes, you can't imagine how the psyche works. Like so many unexpected things are happening. Like we all have such sometimes strange strategies. When you think about self-sabotaging, procrastinating, like all of that happens. So sometimes things are very, like, what's the connection? Like, well, yes, there is one. There are many, actually. So personal money flow is a great session, which is recommended. Another type is adequatization. I'm not sure if this word sounds very well in English, but I can't think of a better one. Basically, the idea is to look on something in an adequate way. Adequatization is great for people in your life, important people. For example, adequatization of mother and father is always a nice idea because the flow is pure then, the flow that you receive from them. Adequatization of your partner, your children, or someone you have problems with. You adequatize them, the story changes completely. And also goals. When you want to achieve something, when you have a goal, whatever this might be, financial goal, career, relationship, anything which sounds as a goal, it's very good to adequatize this, because then you will be able to see things clearly. Do you really want this, or you were just triggered by the family stuff and this was not your pure goal? This is not where you really want to go. If you still want to go there after the adequatization, the flow is pure. So you will not stumble on those blockages that, again, are coming from the family. And you will be able to use the resource that's also coming from the family. So, yeah, adequatization of goals is also a great thing. Also, a very favorite one for me is, we might call this again adequatization, but it's about accepting your body. Like, this is a great one. You can't imagine how things will change for you, how you will look at yourself in a completely different way. Your physical body, it will not, things won't sound the same. You will not feel the same way for yourself. So especially if there are some kind of health problems, it's a very good idea to start with a session for accepting the body, with all the limitations of your body, with all the things that you don't like, all the things you think are wrong with your body. Yes, it's so beautiful when you can accept your body the way it is. And then it works in a different way also, and you take better care of yourself. And it's really, really incredible. Psychosomatic things can also be addressed with Gsr. Of course, here we should always be mindful. Like, if this is an emergency situation, of course, you should first consult your doctor. And I think that goes without saying. But I'm personally a believer that every health problem is triggered by a psychological or emotional reason. Everything. It could be an experience, it could be a feeling. It may also come as an experience of the family members. So that's also incredible. Here, again, it depends on how serious the problem is, how long did it last. Sometimes we need more than one session. So I can't guarantee you that with one session, everything can be healed. But even if something is not healed right away, the response of the body to other treatments will be much better. For example, many people have sessions before surgery. for example, adequatization of the surgery. So you still need to make the surgery, but you avoid complications, you recover much faster, and everything happens in the best possible way. So that's a personal favorite of mine, like the psychosomatic issues and healing and treatment. Okay, let me see if I want to add anything else. Now, something important here. So if you are interested to have a session and work with me, of course, you can always do that through the links somewhere or go to my website, marsstars.net. If you are interested to learn how to do this for yourself, the protocol and the whole technique, please send me an email, marina@marsstars.net, or go to my website and contact me from there, or text me on Telegram, whatever you want. If we have a group, when we gather a group, we can organize a training for learning how to do this for yourself. So there are like different modules. This is the module for personal work. That's where everybody starts. Like, you can't skip this. First, you need to work with yourself. So contact me, and when the time comes, I know it will come, we will make this happen. Something else I want to share also about astrology, like how is all of this related to astrology? Astrology is my greatest love, love for a lifetime. So yeah, like, I have no words to, explain my gratitude and, what all of this means to me. And it's so helpful and so beneficial. And it can really help us for awareness, for recognizing things. But GSR allows us to move things on the next level and do something about it. I'm not saying that awareness doesn't work. Yes, very often, for example, seeing that my moon has a square with Uranus, and I start to observe myself and I notice, okay, I have some kind of, destructive patterns. I may, for example, avoid connection, or I want the connection, but then something happens and it breaks. Like, okay, I may understand and notice, how this energy works within me, which can be great, which may help. But with GSR, we can address this directly. I will still have my moon Uranus square, so I will not turn into, I don't know, something else, but I will be able to do the best with this resource. Okay, and handle with some destructive energies and kind of like move them to a higher level symbolically. So for me, this is a magical combination. Astrology gives you the clarity, shows you where do you need to look at, where could be the blind spots. Then with GSR, we work on that and we fix it, like on an energy level, again, through working on the inner state feelings level. So yeah, I'm like so happy and grateful also for this technique. It's a journey. So an interesting question is, how many symptoms does one person have? And the answer is countless. Like, think about how many people have lived before us. Think about all the difficulties, wars, even if we just focus on that, wars. Like, it's not that long ago, like 100 years ago, there were the world wars, local wars, many also times through different years. Think about hunger, illnesses, like, unfortunately, or I don't know if it's unfortunate, but that's the reality of it. There have been many difficulties that people have been through, and all of this is still affecting us. We also have lots of resources that are available. So the answer is, we can't count the symptoms or the negative scenarios that we have inside, and we don't have the goal to fix ourselves completely. I'm not sure if that's even possible, but our goal is, again, to start with reality. So one thing which I also really like about this technique is that it's very practically oriented. Even if it's working with, subconscious things, invisible things, like what are you doing with those papers? Like, for a very pragmatic, skeptical person, this will be like, very, at least strange, let's say. But actually, the focus is very practical. So what we want is to improve your life in reality. So not only to feel better, this is also very important. Like, for example, confidence, peace, all of that is extremely important, but also to change things in reality, the way you want it to be. So, it's not just for some kind of invisible inner transformation. It's, the focus is, we always start from, what do you want? What do you want in your life right now? And that's where you should search for the results also. Yes, how you feel about things is very important as well, but the ultimate goal is to really change things in your reality. So it's a journey. Like, if you really want to start this personal transformation, I know stories about, my more experienced colleagues have shared how someone having only one session, one GSR session, and their life changes completely. Like 1-2 years after that, the problem is not, the change starts right away, but even years after that, they are no longer having this problem and their life is completely different. There are such stories, but there are also people who want to continue the journey, like, I want to improve this, I want to improve that, especially if you are interested to, learn how to do this for yourself. You will do it like probably very often, and it's incredible. Like, so those who are ready, they will feel it when the time comes. It will happen. But it's like nothing else. I'm sure of that. I want to clarify something. What is the difference if you are familiar with the method of family constellations? It's a popular method. Some people know about it, others don't. The creator was, I believe, or at least the one who made it popular, because I have heard that it's not initially created by him, but at least he made it into some kind of system. His name is Hellinger, something like that, the German, from Germany. What is the difference between family constellations and GSR? Because family constellations also work with the flow that comes from the family system and the problems that previous generations have had and how this affects us now. The difference, and I like family constellations, I should say that. I have a group I work with. I go as a representative very often. So I like this method. It works. But honestly, GSR is many, many, many times more efficient, because in a family constellation, we work with the problems that come from, for example, a particular family member. Let's say let me think of an example. Okay, I have anger issues. And we find that, for example, a family member that is related to this is, let's say, my grandmother, who had, I don't know, a bad husband, he abandoned her or whatever. So she has been very, very angry. And now this is, affecting me. In the family constellations, we will work between me and this grandmother, and we will fix this. But from GSR perspective, this is just one scenario, one figure from I and figure from the symptom. And we will not work with the source, because before the grandmother, there is somewhere back in history, we don't know how many generations before, where initially this anger has been a trigger as a reaction. So the family constellations don't go there. So they work, they can improve things. I have seen this with my eyes also. But with one GSR session, we work with, let's say, 20, 30 scenarios like this. So it's much faster, it's much deeper, it's more efficient, and we find the source. This is also very important, where all of this began. So there are some similarities, there are some differences. And again, I'm not saying family constellations are bad, but yeah, GSR is much more efficient. Julie is sharing her experience. I can attest to this. I had a session and I had no clue what to expect. So weird to feel lighter and unblocked afterwards. And they're on, like, free. I felt and feel free. I know this feeling. Yeah, it's amazing. You know what is the most amazing thing? That you feel how you get access to something which initially belongs to you. Like, this is probably one of the most amazing feelings. Like, for example, you have an inner craving to, I don't know, to create something or to express yourself. You know, the pyramid of Maslow about the needs, like the highest need is self-realization. You know, we need to grow to get there, of course, but that's like the ultimate happiness, you know, to express yourself and your potential. And I think that many people will recognize this. How, you know, you feel how something is just wants to be born out of you in a way. Maybe not everybody is that so focused on creativity. I don't know. At least I definitely have this, you know, to express something from yourself, to be creative. And for whatever reason, it doesn't work. Like, you can't find the right way. External circumstances are stopping you, the time, whatever. And, you know, this frustration of internally feeling that you are capable of something, but somehow it doesn't work, like, this can be very, very frustrating. And this can lead to many problems, including health problems. Like, very often health issues, physical symptoms, they are the result of having an inner resource which we are not able to use in a constructive way. So we turn this against ourselves, against the body. And in a resourceful way, we might be actually killing ourselves, you know, or hurting ourselves or causing ourselves suffering. And this transforming for you, feeling like, yeah, I really, really hope that you will experience this one day for yourself. Yeah, it's magical. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them. What does GSR stand for? It can be translated into a deep system for self-development. Yeah, that's, I think, the closest one. Okay, so thank you very much for joining me again. If you are feeling called to learn how to do this for yourself, let me know. And when the time comes, I will support this happening for you. We'll see, but yeah. And if you want to try it, please be my guest, contact me. It really is amazing. All right, so thank you. Have a beautiful day and